Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Strider. So, taking a break, we're right here at the final boss fight. And I've watched the NES speedrun and a Genesis speedrun. And Strider for the Genesis is almost a beat for beat copy of this game. Except for the fact that Kazakh City was Kazakhstan, and the previous NES Genesis versions of Strider had more enemies and more areas, which kind of makes sense because this game certainly does feel like there should be multiple areas instead of one Kazakhstan area that was this weird combination of China and all of Russia combined under one force. I mean, that's an interesting idea if it was, or that'd be interesting if it was combined. But almost everything, no, not almost, every single enemy you've seen in this game was in the Genesis game. There's been some slight changes, and there's a lot of stuff missing, but there's really nothing new. The Gravitrons are the same. I suppose this system works rather well. I can try and keep this guy under control. Like, yeah, this is actually rather easy, isn't it? Come to think of it. Like, there's so many ways to not take damage. Like, he's almost done. Now, the good news is there's a chance, at least. Like, if all of these collectibles we've been collecting does open more missions, like, he's dead. And that puts us, like, at the 5th place. This guy's new. This is new, I'll fully give you that. But, yeah, this is at least the 5th enemy where I have managed to wow. So there's no way around here. So we'll just try our explosive attacks here, and then we'll run around. Like, you are so safe. It is ridiculous. Like, totally ridiculous. And I should probably just save my health. All these Gravitrons are, I think, just here to help. Wow, this is... Hmm. Just wait for my energy to fill. And fire more of these. Barely taking any damage. Now, watching people speedrun Strider is not going to give me a great response as far as how difficult the game actually was for an average player. It is very possible in the old Strider games you would die after a few hits. Like, that's totally believable for the old generations of console games. Alright, come on. But, yeah, we're almost done here. Darn it. And even though he has this tiny little area of effect, like, it's really, wow, it is just so easy. He's almost dead. This fight has taken a little bit longer with more phases to it, certainly. Now, I will say, I guess I didn't see in any of the previous Striders different types of attacks with different types of weapons, and I didn't see anybody actually throwing kunai, so they did add some interesting things here. This is rather reminiscent of the end of Bayonetta. However, there's also, like in the old Strider games, more story. There's been no story in this at all. We have no explanation as to why we're fighting this guy. From at the very end, he made a few speeches about how he was going to kill everybody and start a new world. He's about to crash into Earth, so maybe he's going to actually accomplish that. This is strange, looking at the credits. These aren't Japanese names. This was originally a Capcom Japanese game. And I imagine Capcom Japan just didn't care about it, so they handed it off to a Western team. Like, not a single Japanese name in any of this. And they're using something called the Hex engine, which might have been the only reason this game got made in the first place, is just to work on some new proprietary engine that they don't have to license. Because I know Shadow Complex was made in, I believe, Unreal or Unity. Well, it's one of those two. I get those two confused. And yeah, I don't know why you would need a new engine for this game. Oh yeah, and the most important thing to stress, the Strider for the Genesis game, way faster running. It's not super fast, it's not something like Mirror's Edge, but for a Genesis game, pretty freaking fast. So I don't know why this game's so slow. Just on the character moving and jumping and how many pixels he makes it when he jumps. Wow, this is I suppose you would say, medium team for a slightly smaller than medium game. Strider PD and the fans of the Strider Citadel. Interesting. I didn't know any of these exist. So I imagine there is just this really small cult following for Strider games. Um, However, yeah, I would have preferred to have a gun. You can see it in my gameplay too. Like when I have the kunai, I just use the kunai like it was a gun shooting, and trying to get up close and slash the enemies is not even something I'd want to do. Okay, so now we have Capcom Japan at the bottom, so they're not getting top billing, and that's strange that the Japanese company wouldn't get top billing even on the English version. But it doesn't seem like they spent too much effort on the game too. The like online strategy, publicity, planning, retail promotion, the e-commerce, that's a new one. External affairs submissions. Yeah, they didn't really work on this game. This is a Western Strider game for some small cult following of Strider fans. You could definitely see that if this was just a boss rush game, that could have been the origins of this and not have any of the map. Because the map is so secondary, running around fighting the same enemies over and over again. There is more variety of enemies, by the way, in Strider Genesis too. Like at a certain point, at least for Strider in the NES, you go to Africa and you're in a completely different area. Strider in the Genesis, you go to like a dinosaur area where there's robotic dinosaurs that you fight and real dinosaurs you fight, and you know, cavemen, cavewomen type things. So that totally would make sense, as have a 3-act play here. Start in Kazakhstan, if you want to call it Kazakh, then have us go to Dinosaur Island, for lack of a better term, and then have us go to no, it wasn't Africa you went to. You went to Australia, which is kind of an interesting pick, but okay. I don't know what you could say to the quality assurance team. It's like the thing is, the game just doesn't play well. It's clunky on the interfaces, finger blistering, and some of the things it requires. I would have liked some QuickTime events, and I guess in my old age, I've changed my opinion of QuickTime events. It's been several years now that we've hit 2018, where most games now very rarely use QTEs instead of maybe back in 2014 or 2010 when QTEs were used way too much. I could see Strider in particular getting up to a boss and getting into a lock situation where it just wanted me to tap the X button a lot to slice the guy over and over and over again. That would have made a lot of sense. That would have worked very well in this game. But we didn't have any of that. I could have done that manually if I got close enough to the enemies, but so many of the enemies had attacks that would, at the very first, hurt you. Alt Japan. Localization. Never heard of that one. It seems like they localized it from English to Japanese. Interesting. Instead of the other way around. It's hard to even recommend playing this on easy from what I've seen, because it's so straightforward. It's just the same experience you'd have in so many other games, but worse.
Mission accomplished.
Who are you talking to? All game statistics will be saved, but you'll be unable to resume progress and will need to begin a new game. Let's see. Let's just say yes. Why not? Playtime 21 hours. That's not true. I left it paused. Honestly, I doubt I spent even 7 hours on it. 97.2% done. And now we're back to the main menu for the first time. And extras. We have all of this concept art, so let's just... Like, this is how Strider Genesis started. Just, I guess we want to go quickly through all of this. Oh, we don't have to go that quickly. Like lightning effects or lighting effects. Those look like lightning effects, but many different fight patterns for energy absorbing. Interesting. The different pickup things. This actually was a boss in Genesis. Like, it would shoot out lasers and you would have to hit it many times because you didn't have a charged attack. So right trigger. So we'll probably find that there's something here. These aren't new. That isn't new. I'll just let you know when something's new. Like, this, from what I saw on the speedruns, is kind of new. The interior temples. These guys, I suppose, are the rethinking of the giant gorilla and dinosaur that you would have fought. This energy attack, eagle flight, and eagle concept for option C. Oh, is that what option C was this whole time? It was the eagle? Didn't even think of that. And bot concept, taking cues from past games for option A. The originals apparently looked like a floating orb and a crawling bot, and they combined it into a floating robot. Mayo's tower didn't look anything like this, and frankly that would have looked nicer. They were a little too heavy on the idea of just everything looking like Mayo. 3 different platforms, but 2 of those are actually transversal platforms where the option A switch on the right only just opened gates. Turrets. I guess I didn't see any turrets in the speedruns of the old games. This guy, Solo, seemed to be new. General Mikhail seemed to be new. I have a heavy feeling that there is a comic book or 2 or some like art or other promotional items focusing on some of those characters like General Mikhail. Several different variants of these guys, they're kind of new. The Pooh sisters, well known for the previous from previous Strider games. Okay, they weren't in the NES or Genesis version, or well, no, I think they were in the Genesis version for a second. These guys needed to have played a much better story, a bigger role in the story. The second armored dragon encounter. So here's the one we didn't collect. Plasma rings. Tanks. Tanks are kind of new. Or at least I think they're new. The millipede is not new. Oops. We unlocked almost everything, and you could just get a 100% save file, it seems. Like this guy. See, one of the most memorable enemies from the game, Mechapon. Did we really fight a guy like this? I don't think so. Queen Mother of the West. The airship Balrog. Laser turrets. Yep, we fought all these guys, so there's another there's 2 things we didn't unlock. And Intel is just a model viewer. So common in video games, particularly Japanese video games. So you can, I mean, the thing here is, in almost any game, you're going to need to look at the models as an animator. So they just put it in the game as, in the game engine, as if it's something they did special. But really, this is just so they can spin the characters around and see what they look like. Of course, there probably would have been other software that animators could have used, but they're probably a little bit more complicated. The prisoner, we don't know who he is at all. Even the game says you don't know who he is. So many enemies that are just, you know, the exact same enemy over and over again in a different color. Yeah, I don't know what you do with this game without putting some story in it. I guess this was the only skin of this character. It just always looked odd. Like, there's some weirdness, I guess you could point out, in her chest. What would you call that? Chest vest covering her cleavage. I think there's some censorship going on there. This guy has robotic legs for really no reason. Gravitron, super easy bosses. Here's the mutant millipede. So there's another thing we missed. So that tells me, yeah, there's 3 red things at least that we missed. But I'm glad to have not spent the time on this, because they kept saying that this was going to unlock, it was unlocking things, and I thought the things it was going to unlock, I guess we did fight a guy like this, maybe only once though. So forgettable. Like, there's another thing we missed. This guy seems not to have any body. Or, like, both. He seems to be really, really short and missing legs. Interesting. And then story intel. I suppose pause this if you really want to see. Like, the citizens played no role. There's no story told in this game. There's no explanation as far as what I'm doing or why I'm doing things. Yeah. And so I'm not going to get all the achievements, because one of them would have been to beat the game under 4 hours. Here we go. Here, challenge modes. Run through the beacons in order to achieve the fastest time. Survival mode. Combat waves of enemies and eliminate them as fast as possible. Okay. So there are some beacon run things. Let's see how this is. I don't know if I really want to do any of these, but let's see. Beacon run mode is simply a race through areas we've already been. And because Strider really doesn't move that fast, in my opinion, like, this almost feels like a baby game for people who haven't played video games for many years. So there you go. That seemed really, really easy. 45 seconds and 45.65 seconds. And they're not even saying that right. You don't write it that way. You put a period. Maybe in Japan they do use a semicolon for fractions of seconds. I don't know. So there's these gray icons there, and I think what these mean are the abilities that you all have, because yeah, they look like icons that indicate just your ability. So beacon run mode is basically just play the game or major sections of the game a second time and get A rank. There might be an S rank. And then survival mode, like there was only one beacon run mode we unlocked, so there's like 6 things we didn't find. Let's try this. Survival mode. And survival mode seems like I have gold, but I don't have the purple attack. Alright, so this guy is not gonna be taken out at all, and the guy with the shield won't be taken out until you have a charged attack on him, and that's gonna prove to be difficult. And so this, I imagine, could go on for ever, or it goes on for the full length of this test programs. Mission failed. Well, the fact that there is a mission failed tells me that you do have to go the whole length. Let's see. Let's try the easiest one. I don't have any of the abilities that you normally would have. No dash. No stronger than reflect blade abilities. We do have the ground pound. Like, no kunai. I'm about to die on this too. Well, I have no interest in this at all. I suppose I could try to use more of my option C. This seems doable. There's really nothing here that seems impossible. More of these guys. Well, it seems doable, but it also just doesn't interest me. Alright. So there are a couple of extra things you can do here. A survival mode, a beacon mode under single player. And I can't resume. So rank B, easy is what we played on. And it seems like let's just jump into special like hard mode and see what really would have changed. I imagine I'm just going to take more health, more damage on my health. Maybe even one hit kills. And I would personally would just find that annoying. Maybe default. So I have a quarter health. I get hit once. That wasn't that much damage. And these guys are dying relatively easily. So does this really only affect a slight change in your enemy's strength? Let's see. How long would it be until I got to an enemy? Oh yeah. I can't do anything until I get this. That might have been new. It might be putting slightly newer or more enemies in here. But the whole point of this first section was to make you feel pretty strong. And that same concept art that we've already collected is collectible again, unless they've just decided to move the ones I didn't collect into an easier place to get them. Alright, I could see this being a little bit more difficult. If we come over here, all the costumes are locked. All the upgrades are going to be the same though, so... yeah, just... I imagine the boss battles are going to be way more difficult. There is a very good question though to ask, why did it make me overwrite my save file? Like, no reason it seems. Because I didn't unlock a new, even more difficult version. Was it simply here? So that, and how come none of this saved? Like, was it simply here to save the fact that I had looked at... I don't understand why none of this concept art saved the last time. Seems like that's a little bit of a bug. Yeah, it seems a little pointless to have to save your game at the end of the game after you've beaten it, for just to ensure you can't go back and get all the collectibles. Not that I think you would have been able to go back and get any of the collectibles anyways. It would have been so easy to simply have Strider appear at that final checkpoint where it said you can't come back to this point after you'd beaten the game. That would have been really, really easy. It also would have been really, really easy to write any kind of story here. Strider 2014 as an idea of a reboot simply is underfunded and underpolished. It's with literally zero story, nearly no characterization. There's no way I can recommend playing this game, even though it's average. It's fine. And there's nothing objectionable about playing it on easy. You'd probably get really frustrated if you played it on normal or hard, because the controls are not tight. But since there's so little to say about it, you could go play Shadow Complex. And you would have almost, well, you'd have an extremely similar story. You'd be playing with a gun, you'd get more upgrades, you'd get more items, no, it's not a similar story, it's a similar style of gameplay. Shadow Complex actually has a story. And if you were going to reboot a classic game series, why not do it right? Like, even if it's just a cult classic and very few people remember it, including me, I didn't remember Strider, never heard of it. Like, why bring it back and do exactly the same thing that the Genesis game did? Why not just save your money and resell the Genesis game? Well, there's really nothing else to say. It's mediocre, so I would say pass on this one. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to go check out Shadow Complex or any other game I've covered, you can go to my main YouTube page. There's a playlist tab. I have a playlist for every game I've covered. I would say go check out Shadow Complex and let me know if I'm wrong here, because it seems very, very similar. If you want to friend or follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Google+, Steam, or Battle.net, which are always good backups because YouTube decides half the time not to tell you when new videos are out, I have a bunch of links down below in the description box, so please do friend and follow me on those. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.